The second day of the virtual summit, the live virtual summit. I'm here with Christina Daves. Christina, welcome on board.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. This purpose, patents, and profits. That's the topic today. Let me start the initial slide. Here you are, purpose, patents, and profits. And those of you that were not here yesterday, we had a keynote presentation by Kevin Harrington, the original shark on Shark Tank. He's launched over 500 products with revenues of $5 billion in sales. Also, Tara Williams, the inventor of Dreamland Baby, wonderful story of her journey as an inventor. And then finally, Dennis and Mary Lou Green, an amazing power couple, inventors that are developed the sneaker balls, along with 50 other products and sales of $120 million. So with that, purpose, patents, and profits. And today's guest is Christina Daves. She's the creator of CastMedic Designs. You'll hear a little bit more of her story. Actually, Jenny, if you're on, let's play a short video interview of Christina.
Inventors will reveal their unusual new products on the Steve Harvey Show this afternoon, and they're going to compete to see which of their ideas dazzles Steve's studio audience and a panel of judges. A Virginia woman named Christina Daves is one of the inventors competing, and she joins us this morning with more on her invention. And good morning.
Good morning, Barbara.
Glad you could join us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us, first of all, how did you hear about this competition on the Steve Harvey Show?
There's something called HARO, which is Help a Reporter Out, and they send queries for different things, and there was just an anonymous query that said, do you have a product you'd like to take to the next level?
And the idea that you get a $20,000 prize, I think.
We didn't know.
You didn't know that?
We did not know until we got to the show. We were in the green room and they popped in and said, oh, by the way, you're all competing for a $20,000 prize.
Wow.
We had no idea.
Well, tell us about your invention.
Okay, so what I did, I actually broke my foot in the summer of 2010 and was put in a medical boot.
In a medical boot. And that's what these are.
Yeah.
Medical boots. They don't look like the ones we usually see on the street.
And I was actually headed to New York, fashion capital of the world, and thought, I can't go looking like this. So it started coming to me, and I came home and started designing, and I came up with some fur cuffs to kind of make it look like an Ugg boot. And we've got really easy socks that you can, dress up on the boots and put up, and flowers to put on them. And the flowers are great because they all have a pin back and an alligator clip. So you can wear them after injury.
So tell me, are these all just the regular medical boots that you can buy accessories to go with?
Yeah, this line that I have here is from DJO, which is the largest orthopedic bracing company in the world. So odds are you're probably going to get one of these boots. So we kind of designed to go on these.
And of course, you tell me you came up with the idea because you were wearing one
I was
yourself.
Wearing one, correct.
Okay, what kind of inventions were you up against on the show?
There's somebody who has an accessory for an iPad, a woman who has a very unique earmuff, a singles calling card, a great shoe tying aid, and then somebody who's got something that you put on a bed to help with storage in a dorm or, small like apartments.
On the bed or under the bed?
It goes under the bed, but I'll let you watch and see exactly what it
coming
is.
Up this afternoon.
Yeah.
We wish you good luck with this because I tell you, I see a lot of folks out there. Keith, my partner over there, was in one of these boots until just a few days ago. So he probably would have loved to have had some of these decorations to go on.
Almost 4 million people. So we want them to look and heal their best and experience the healing power of fashion.
Men for men and women.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you so much for coming in and we wish you good luck.
Great.
Of course, we'll find out who the winner is this afternoon on the Steve Harvey Show. That's at 2 o'clock right here on NBC4. And we will see if you win.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much.
To you.
Thanks for having me.
That's wonderful. Are you going to keep us in suspense or tell us who won?
I won, which was amazing because everyone who's watching knows when you invent a product, we mortgaged our house, we maxed out credit cards. I was broke. I mean, I was dead broke at this point. Because you see, I invented something totally new in the market space. So that $20,000 from the Steve Harvey Show, not to mention being on the Steve Harvey Show and all the exposure that got, that was the shot in the arm that I needed. And it just completely up-leveled my business.
Wow. And I'm so glad you said that. A lot of the comments, and one in particular, I brought that up with Kevin Harrington yesterday. I don't know if you got to see his interview, but One of the comments on social media was from somebody who said, I don't need to watch a bunch of privileged people make more money. And that nothing could be further from the truth in terms of our lineup. And that's what Kevin said yesterday. He said, he was one of 6 kids. His father was a bartender. He's been working since he's 15. It wasn't the spoon of privilege, a silver spoon, that allowed him to launch his idea. And I'm so glad you talked about your start, because it's different when people look at you now. Inventors look at how your product's doing now. It's intimidating because they're like, oh my God, I could never be like Christina. But why don't you tell us your story and start from before you were an inventor? What did you do, and go from there?
Yeah. So I grew up outside of Washington, D.C. I went to Virginia Tech. Go Hokies, if anyone's watching, still a diehard fan. But I was a double major in political science and German, and I had a job in Germany. I was all set to go. I graduated from college. I was getting all my paperwork together, and my father was diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer. And this is back before cell phones, before FaceTime, when it was really expensive to fly. And I didn't go because I knew he didn't have a lot of time left. And 6 months later, my father passed away. So I'm right out of college. I'm in my early 20s. I was lost. So I didn't know what to do. And that basically kind of started my life of entrepreneurship accidentally. I got a real estate license. I partnered with a guy I was selling real estate with. We started an event planning company. I actually booked the Dave Matthews Band 2 weeks before they made it on the radio. So I like to say I discovered them. But no, it was a long process. And I did a lot of things. I owned a retail store for 10 years. And which was interesting when I came up with the whole concept, and I'll tell the whole story in a second. But I thought that retail background was really going to help me. Oh, I can invent a product. I know all about wholesale. I know about retail. It's still a big learning curve. So you heard on the interview, I broke my foot. I was in a boot. My husband and I are going to New York. I'm like, this thing is so ugly. So I'm on the train Googling medical boot fashions, medical boot accessories. And I joke, I swear he saw the light bulbs go off on my head when I realized there was nothing on the market. Because once you're an entrepreneur, you're an inventor, you always have that.
It's hard to turn it off, right? You can't.
No, you can't. And I had sold my share of the store. I was very burned out from the retail part of it. So the light bulbs went off, and I invented this fashion line for it, which I will tell you, everybody loved. So for those of you who have this invention, everyone's like, oh, Christina, that's the greatest idea ever. Well, then you go, it's your money. All these people who tell you how great it is, so we mortgaged our house, we maxed out the credit cards. Yeah, it was a great idea, but nobody knew about it. Nobody knew it was an option. And when I say we were broke, and I had 2 young kids, and I'm not losing my house. Like, what am I going to do? And I had hired a retail expert, and he took a lot of money from me. Took $24,000. That's all I had left. He was going to help me, get my product to market, all the things. And I still remember this so vividly when he called me and said, there's no faux fur in China. I knew I was in big trouble. And my girlfriend, who I owned the store with, was at the Atlanta gift show, which you guys all know about if you're inventing products. And she thought it was so funny to send me picture after picture of all the products with fur on them, gloves and hats and, tablecloths. Right. So it was a horrible experience. But that segued into really what I'm doing now is helping people get publicity for their products, because that's what I figured out. And that's how I got on Steve Harvey. And I've just gotten so much media exposure for it that really elevated the brand.
And that's was something that didn't cost, you didn't pay for that.
No.
Right? Like none of that media exposure was
nope.
like paid. So that's amazing, especially.
I didn't have any money left. Yeah. I couldn't hire a PR firm. I wish I took that $24,000, but this is something anyone can do. Anyone watching this, you can get publicity for your product. And it's so easy now because with social media and the internet, it's not like the old days where you had to send out a press release and it was this the golden Rolodex. Those days are
Right.
gone. You can
Right.
get to anybody now.
Yeah, and talk about Harrow and because you did that's an amazing resource. I've used it myself when there's not too many requests for patent attorneys from the media, but when when there is one, I'm sure to respond because they need help. They need somebody who can clarify the different types of patents and why not?
Yeah, it's helpareporter.com. I think it's amazing. I tell everybody though, because you're going to sign up for it and you're going to be like, Christina, what is this? It looks like a 1990s email, right? If you use it, they don't format it. It's just a bunch of queries from journalists. But that's how I got on the Steve Harvey show. The query said, do you have a product you're looking to take to the next level?
Mm-hmm.
And I submitted for that. And I submitted in August. I didn't know it was a Steve Harvey show. I found out after the fact, but I found out in October. But I have a client that I worked with who's an inventor, 74 years old. I love this woman. First year in business. She got herself on things like, I don't know if the Today Show is Harrow, but The View, all kinds of Real Simple magazine. I mean, she got millions and millions of views because she just constantly responded. And right now with all the gift guides, everyone's missed the actual print gift guides, but all the .coms, they are looking, the high ranking blogs, they're looking for products.
And that's so 50, what our research found was 50 media outlets within a year is the kind of coverage you got. And you didn't have what you call the golden Rolodex, right? Did you have any contacts in? Zero.
I knew nothing. I didn't know what I was doing. And now I coach on this and I teach about this. But my first call to NBC, I had no saliva in my mouth. I was horrible. I was like, and needless to say, I didn't get on then, but you saw that I did make it on later.
Right.
It's just learning a system, learning a process so that you stand out from the noise. And once you do that, and people, I still get on media all the time. I don't pitch myself as much as I used to because I'm helping other people do it. But if I really want to, I went out to Denver pre-COVID and was speaking at an event. And I thought, oh, let me show them how easy this is. I'd never been to Denver in my life. And I pitched a segment about Colorado inventors. So I reached out to all these different inventors, all my inventor contacts, and said, find me people who live in Colorado. And I put the story together and they loved it. So never being to Colorado, not one contact in the state. I pitched the story. When I spoke on Thursday, Wednesday morning, I did a whole segment about Colorado inventors just to show them, give them a good story idea, and you can get in the media.
Right. Yeah. Wow. So going back to the early days of your coming up with your idea, tell us about obstacles. Maybe right, we only have a half hour for the show, but what obstacles did you face, and were there any that were almost, you were thinking that this is when you're going to throw in the towel? Because that's every inventor so far during this summit has reached that point where. And I had a couple of weeks ago another inventor who had actually set their idea aside for 6 months and did nothing on it because they had given up. But the ideas don't die; it keeps coming back every time they see the need. It gnaws at you to help birth it. So go ahead. Let's hear what were some of the worst obstacles that you faced.
Yeah. Well, where do we start? First of all, trying to get it manufactured. I was dead set on having it manufactured in the United States. I spent 4 months to tell you that I literally called every factory in the United States that does fabric type things, socks, gloves, anything like that. Nobody wanted to make my product. I'm like, no, but I'm going to give you money to do this. I want to pay you to make. Right. No, we can't take a risk. It's a new product. So I literally went to the textile show in New York City with one of my sockets, which is and nobody's going to know what it is. It's half a sock with Velcro. And I went to every booth. Can you make this? Can you make this? Can you make this? Half the people didn't speak English. They want me to tell them what it is. I'm not going to tell them what it is. And I went to this one sock booth and there were two gentlemen in there who said, what is this? And they signed an NDA right there, and they represented me to get my product manufactured overseas. They did socks. But that was the big, I'm like, how do I get a product made? And I'm pretty resourceful. That was the first one. Then the money, you go to your bank and you apply for an SBA loan, which is great, but they wanted me to triple collateralize the loan, triple. So if I wanted 100,000, I had to put up 300,000. Like, well, that doesn't make sense. You're only giving me 100,000.
Right.
So long story short, that's where the mortgaging of the house came in. Thank goodness for the 0% credit cards. So, and of course there's manufacturing issues. Now we got lucky. I didn't get stuck on a port anywhere. I got the product, but my products are spandex, stretchy material, and they're supposed to stretch this way because, boots, well, some of them stretch this way and not this way. So all of a sudden we had a new size, medium only. But I think that's really common. But the money was the biggest one. So we launched in February, and I'm doing everybody loves my idea. My biggest fatal flaw was that I thought doctors would sell it in their offices. So my business plan really had that built into it. What I didn't know is that doctors don't want to do retail. Now they have to. I was too early. Now, 10 years later, it is a big part in a doctor's office.
In fact, I have a client that's a veterinarian. It started with veterinarians because I think they're the ones that realize that there's a lot of profit in accessories for pets, and you have the pet owners right there. But doctors are doing it now as well.
Yeah. But 10 years ago, they weren't. So that's where the whole PR thing came in. But so I kept trying. And you guys, when I tell you that I got 500 no's, I called, catalog companies. No, this, no, this, no. Well, then I get my big break and it's Shark Tank. And it's season 2, and I send my video in and I do my application. And then you guys, maybe people watching have done this. It's a 30-page, at that time, handwritten application. They don't want it typed. I think they probably did handwriting analysis. So the producers loved me. They're like, oh, we love your energy. We love your product. Mark Burnett loved me, his team. I passed that test. Mm-hmm. And then ABC, Sony turned me down because in season 1, they had wasn't a medical boot, but an aftermarket product for a boot, like a cowboy boot. When I tell you, I couldn't stop. I cried for an entire weekend because this was my big break. I was going to make it. So that's April. For months, May, June, July, August, September, no. And I remember this so vividly. It was a Tuesday night, and I'm on my laptop and I'm crying. I'm like, what do I do? I'm asking the universe. I'm like, I have done everything. I'm a good person. I work hard. I'm not trying to get rich quick. Such a great idea. And the next morning I wake up to the email from the Steve Harvey Show. And they said, we need a video from you by 10 o'clock. Now I have 2 young kids at this point. So I'm like, how am I going to do a video? I just got out of bed. I have no makeup on. I don't have anything set up. You need lights. And so I took the Shark Tank video and I edited out my, Z skills of editing. I edited out the Shark Tank wording and sent that in. I'm like, that's all I have. Long story short, I interviewed all day. That night, my husband and I were at the high school at a booster club meeting, and we walked out and they said, we want you on the show. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so great. When? Tomorrow. What's the name on your driver's license and what's your airport of choice? I was like, and my husband's like, just go. But I didn't know it was a contest at that time. I just knew it was a way and that was Harrow, circling back.
Yeah, wow.
That got me there. So you got to hustle. You got to find when this door closes, and you have to be open for that other door opening so that you see opportunity. Because as an inventor, we have great ideas and we have great products. We've got to get it to the right people.
Right. It's funny. You mentioned, let me see if I have, on the shelf. So yesterday's inventors, Dennis and Mary Lou Green, they wrote a book about strengthening their marriage. because it's tough enough being an inventor, but having two inventors in the same family married, I mean, that's a recipe for a lot of clashes. Tell us about your support system. Obviously, your husband, when, you know, he said, whatever airport, whatever time,
Right.
just go. Was that a big part of what allowed you to take some of these, because they are risks? I mean, if you're short on money, obviously the Steve Harvey show is not paying for your travel and hotels and they did.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes it a little bit easier, but certainly all the PR. I mean, you didn't have the luxury of hiring a video editor.
No. At this point, I'm broke. I have nothing. My husband. But you have to understand, this was my second really big venture that I invested in. The first one was the store, which, you know, marriage is ups and downs. That was a lot rockier back then. We had young kids. My girlfriend and I, when we opened the store, we joked that it was our little family. It was 2 moms and 4 kids. Like, we took care of the kids. We did this. Our husbands worked. But after having a really successful business, by the time this launched, he was so supportive. Just go. We'll figure it out. You know, we'll make all this stuff work, because he believed in it too. It really is a good product. It was just early on, it was hard to catch on because that I relied on the doctors. But then I got into Amazon. I was a vendor on Amazon for many, many years. They just recently cut me off of that. I think they're cutting, if you're not multi-million-dollar sales on Amazon, they don't want you anymore because they're so big.
Right. So one quick question, because it's from Paul. He's asking about the 90s style email thing that you mentioned.
Haro.
I heard that's how she got on the Steve Harvey show, but I didn't catch what she was talking about. So if you want to address that before we get too far from it.
So helpareporter.com, you sign up as a source. And 3 times a day, they're going to send you this 90s looking email that has requests from journalists. And right now for inventors, and I look at this every day, 3 times a day, because I do a lot for my clients too. There are so many gift guide opportunities right now. So productpreneurs, from September to November, you should be on Haro every day. And a lot of them are blogs. Look to make sure it's a high ranking blog. There's a lot of bloggers that get stuff, you know, you send them a sample, and I always use Alexa.com to test to see if it's a high ranking blog or not. If you guys don't know how to do that, you just type the blog in, scroll down to the bottom of Alexa, type that blog in. And if it's the lower the number, the higher, the more people are reading it. So I say use 100,000 as your number. But anyway, so there's all these requests. I mean, I've been in thousands of media outlets now, and I would say 90% of them, I'm not pitching myself, I use Haro.
Wow. So that's really helpful. And Jenny's our moderator in the back. If you want to type in helpareporter.com into the chat box. And also somebody asked if Christina can repeat what she said at 12:10. I don't know if we can do that, but Jenny, if you can post the link to the Inventors Mastermind, our private Facebook group, we're going to put the video on there, and then you can go about 10 minutes in, and you can listen to the whole thing if you want. But I don't know if you would remember. Tell us about, was there so your first venture, the store, was that successful?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we opened a retail store in. And this was crazy. And I've talked to people years later who said, we had vision, kind of like my invention, like we're inventors, you know, this entrepreneurs. Right. So we opened our store in a blighted town, literally hardest town called Haymarket, Virginia, which is now thriving. But when we opened the store, 2002, so big brands like Brighton and Vera Bradley were not sold in our county. So we went to them and they'd send the sales reps out, and they would come in to our driveway and they would leave. We were just a little historic house off the beaten path. What they didn't know is over the hill were thousands of $800,000 to $1 million homes being built. So literally we opened and people were buying things out of the boxes as we were trying to stock the store.
Wow. So the reason I asked in yesterday's interview, Dennis and Mary Lou, they're 2 married inventors. Their first venture didn't work out, and it's always tougher to get your support system to back you on your second idea if the first one doesn't do well. So, but that's sometimes for a lot of inventors, it's not you don't hit it out of the park the first time, and
Or the second or the third.
or the second or third. The funny story, true story behind WD-40, the lubricant, it stands for water displacement formula. And the 40 is the 40th attempt before they got the formula working right. So it was WD1, WD2, WD3. So that's just the nature of inventing. The support system is critical, and especially if you've had earlier ideas that didn't launch, and now you've got the one that you think, yes, but this one's is going to be the one to get that support. Was there any misconceptions about being an inventor that you faced? The famous, the well-known, I guess, image of the crazy inventor. Sometimes that holds inventors back, and people make judgments on that. Was that an obstacle for you, or?
No, that wasn't. But nobody tells you how hard it is. Nobody tells you how long it's going to take, and nobody tells you how much it's going to cost. You do a business plan, you plan all these things, you're going to hit obstacles. And I said this early on, you've got that passion in your belly for your product. Don't lose that. Don't forget that. If you've I've gotten a lot of press because I guess actually taking an idea and going to market with it is a really big deal. There might be a lot of inventors, but really going through with mass producing, mass marketing is a pretty big deal. So you should be proud of yourself for that. But yeah, when it gets bad, just go back to that passion. What drove you to where you are? And I mean, I hit obstacles. I had to figure things out. I say the life of an inventor is like somebody playing pinball. You bing, 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 and then you hit the big stuff and then it goes back down again. And then, it's just a constant, but that's a reason that we're these kind of people. It's just how we're wired. So you got to just keep going. And I told you, I cried for months after the Shark Tank thing. I mean, I was a mess. That was my big golden ticket. And now in retrospect, I think, oh God, they would have eaten me alive because I didn't have a sales yet. And then I got to be on Steve Harvey. I got $20,000 free, no strings attached.
Right. No percentage of the company that you had to give up or control or ownership or any of that.
Nope.
Yeah. Wow. Well, but I have to give you credit for your resourcefulness in just doing it all yourself. I mean, a lot of times it's very tempting for inventors, and I get asked all the time for recommendations to marketing agents or patenting agents or licensing agents, and everybody wants the one-stop shop. And it's really, that's what allows a lot of these scam companies and fraudulent operators. I don't know the person who you gave the $24,000 to at the beginning, if that was one of them, or if it genuinely just didn't work out. But you want, just like with dieting, I mean, you want to not diet and not exercise and lose weight. I mean, and whoever promises that, they're going to outsell all of their competitors. The person that's out there saying, you know what, you got to watch what you eat, you've got to run, you've got to diet, you've got to exercise. They're like, well, forget you. And then they go to the person that promises that it's not like that. But to resist that, and maybe it's a blessing to be broke at the time, because you can't, maybe instead of the 24,000, you would have put more money into it if you had it. And somebody came along and said, listen, I know exactly what to do. I'll do the marketing, I'll do the PR, I'll get you. But instead, you're left with your own resources. You did them yourself. You didn't hire an editor. You didn't hire somebody to send out releases or any of that. You started with Haro, which I don't know if it's gone up, but I mean, at one time it was only $19 a month. And
it's free. I don't do the paid. I've never used the paid version ever. There is a paid version, but you don't need it. I've had tremendous success with the free.
Right. Wow. So that's another, this is amazing. A lot of value for inventors to hear from a real inventor that's done it and that still remembers what the early days were like.
Yeah. Well, and I still do it. I was just in Thrive Global a few weeks ago about my product. So I walk the walk. That's what I tell people. All the stuff I do, I teach PR, I coach in PR, but I'm still doing it because I still run that business. So the PR side helps because I get PR for Me, which talks about that, but that was all about
Right.
CastMedic, my story. And your story is so important. Your story will sell. They love, so many people didn't know my story. So that article came out and I sent it, to my email list and put it on LinkedIn, and people were like, wow, your story is great. And
Right.
anyone who invents a product, there's a story behind it. Why did you do it? So
Yeah,
focus on that.
So, and we're out of time, but let me ask you for one final piece of advice, something maybe you wish you had known before you started. And you've already said that it's going to cost more than you think, take longer than you think, and have more obstacles. But any parting advice for inventors?
Well, I think marketing is key. So learning good social media skills, like learning engagement on social media. How do you cut through the noise? Learn messaging, social media, and PR. And you could do it yourself. You just have to learn how to do it.
Perfect. Great advice, Christina. It's wonderful to see you here. Hopefully we'll have you come back for the next summit. I hope to go back to doing them live in person,
No,
but
lovely.
but we'll see. We can't say when that's going to be.
Right.
But have a wonderful day.
Okay.
Yep.